Welcome to the Esports Research Report, presented by myself, Dr. Brian McCauley, here at Jönköping University in Sweden, and produced as always by Nicholas Hendelkens, Communications Lead for the Esports Research Network. Now, today we have Elena Koung, who's an informatics PhD student at Penn State University in States, and she's here to talk about her paper, Gender Toxicity in Competitive Gaming, Women's Perceptions and Responses. So, welcome to the podcast, Elena, and please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what's happening at Penn State University.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, Brian. I'm currently a second year PhD student going on third year, and I'm currently researching a bunch of different aspects of online safety. As part of the research, as my role in the health and play lab. So, in our lab, it's very much health and play. So, really, we're looking into youth's like well-being in terms of like playing games or just general online well-being. So, some of my collaborators and lab mates have worked on topics such as safety on Roblox and even tackling the big problem of online gambling. It's really exciting work, and I sort of worked on the esports side as a competitive gamer myself. So that was one of the first projects that I worked on. My supervisor is Yubo Ko, who did a bunch of really great work on League of Legends and platform moderation, which is sort of like how I got into it. And that's about me.
At that center, like that's the sort of stuff that's some of the most important stuff in the world right now. I'm not just saying that, like, the when I was a kid, the internet was the Wild West, but it was a thing. It was in the corner of the living room, and it wasn't around you all the time. And so I love the idea that there's a center for play and health that really recognizes that we need to be addressing this, because that's part of what I'm pushing here as well. So I love that. So you're presenting a conference paper here, gender toxicity, competitive gaming, women's perceptions and responses. Who did you write it with, and where did you present it?
Yeah, definitely. So I was super excited to present this because it was my first work. I presented it at Kai Play last year in Pittsburgh, so it was actually really close by to Penn State. My co-authors Zena, Shining, and Yubo were all very supportive, and we worked on this as a qualitative study to understand what women are going through and experiencing in terms of gender toxicity.
Yeah, qualitative is unusual in this area, isn't it? That's one of the key gaps, isn't it? That
Yeah,
people don't do. They tend to do surveys for this sort of stuff.
yeah, and I think that that's why we come in with this qualitative lens because it helps us understand deeply with a lot more rich nuance to understand something that's personal as toxicity that affects these players. And one of the main analysis methods that we use is called reflexive thematic analysis, which really allows for, I guess, researchers to be reflective and interact with the data very deeply and interpretively.
Yeah, I've done some of that. I like that approach as well. So how
Oh,
did you do it?
cool.
Who did you talk to?
Yeah, so we interviewed 28 different women across the US. Of course, in the US, because I'm based here with geographical limitations. But they represented a lot of different competitive titles from League of Legends, Overwatch, Call of Duty, and they're spread across all the different ranks. So I think it was really important to me as a competitive player to represent not only one title of the game, which is often happens in research, and not only just one specific skill range, because we want to understand across the spectrum, whether you're good or bad in this sort of meritocracy of ranked games where you're still experiencing toxicity. I think they were mostly relatively young women, and let me think, what else can I say about them? We
You
were
said
very
Call of Duty there. I mean, that's maybe the most masculine game, because I know someone in Australia who used to, a girl who let her boyfriend play, and for
Mhm.
fun, she would put on the headset and speak as the player just to wind up the player base. Like, oh, look at the girl's shooting you in the head.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's an uber masculine environment in terms of games, right?
Yeah, I think that there's a tendency for a lot of competitive games to be perceived as masculine, but I'm really excited about the fact that it was really easy to get women who do identify and play competitive games such as Call of Duty. So maybe the numbers aren't as skewed as we think.
Well, you can't get the data. I mean, I've looked for the data as part of my Valorant study because Riot estimated 30% of the Valorant players, and I totally agree on this. It's not a skill level; it's toxicity, it's social engineering. I
Mhm.
hate the fact we haven't had a CS:GO team with a female member win a major yet because there's no reason for it, right? Except
Yeah,
that what you're investigating here, this toxicity.
yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the structural issues that are, sort of supporting gender toxicity, as well as purely the lack of support that is within this space for women gamers. And I think gender toxicity is only one part of that equation.
Well, there was a study here of Female Legends. They're a grassroots organization to support women and young non-binary in entering gaming, and they did a focus groups, did 100 surveys, and they found it here in Sweden, the most gender-neutral country in the world, that girls got 45 minutes to an hour less playtime than their male counterparts, which blew my mind that there was structural stuff that was
Mhm.
imposed on young girls when playing games.
Yeah, and I think that through doing the study and just talking to these women, what had helped with the entering into the space was definitely early exposure and feeling supported. Like, if I do want to play video games, I should be able to do so and do it freely. So, being able to pursue your passion, no matter what it is, I think is very important for young girls.
So I've got a few questions here. Your research shows women are often pushed into support roles. What's a support role, and how does following or rejecting this lead to issues such as criticism or social exclusion?
Yeah, so there has been, I think, some studies that addressed how there is almost a gender bias towards certain roles in games. It's almost like um, gendered by design, almost. So in terms of the support role, support is, I guess, barely the main character. They're healers or providers, literally there to help support the gameplay. So maybe you're not doing the most damage, or you're not contributing the most, yeah, kills or like shot calls to the game. But I think what was really important from the study was seeing that this became a gendered expectation for women to like need to play certain roles, like when their boyfriends suggest them to get into the game through playing support. And there's also a general, I think, like pressure from society to nurture and play into this almost historical role that men do all the fighting while the women stay back and like take care of the house or the family.
I'm playing Killjoy, so I'll wait on site or I'll watch the flanks when I play Valorant.
Yeah,
And
which
so
is yeah.
so what happens when they either accept it or reject it? What's that sort of distinction there?
Yeah, so it sort of it creates a really deep like personal conflict because you either conform, you do play the support role, and it's really difficult because let's say you really do enjoy playing support, but from the outside view, it might look like you're sort of reinforcing the stereotype that women only play support. And then on the other side of it, let's say you don't conform, you choose the masculine and aggressive role, then you might be standing out too much and people might latch on to your visibility and call you names and face other types of gender toxicity because of that. There's really like no winning here. So I think that's what's really challenging for women who are trying to navigate their way through competitive gaming.
I mean, one of your themes that you found was retaliation as justice. Can you explain that one to me?
Yes, and I think that this is one of the most valuable findings for me as a person, like a competitive gamer, and also showing that there's a movement for women to not just be passive anymore. I think a lot of the prior literature has emphasized avoidance and coping with toxicity in sort of, quitting the game, not trying to play anymore, and it really reduces the participation of women overall in the scene. This kind of creates a further marginalization of women as well, as you continue decreasing visibility as women, mute their mics, change the characters they pick, like don't pick the girly champ, pick the one that's like what boys play, or like hide their names so it's not feminine. So what I've seen, instead of, hiding and minimizing visibility, women are fighting back, using retaliation, actually seeking justice. So instead of just muting the players, they might continue speaking up, say, like, it's not right to be toxic, like, that was toxic. Um, let's focus on the game. So they tie it back to actually the competitive aspects of the game to sort of like get people back on the same track, because at the end of the day it is a esports game, you are playing for a win condition. So trying to become leaders in that space, retaliating against the toxicity, was a form of justice that the participants talked about.
I mean, when I play Valorant, like get toxic when someone's toxic to a woman because I
Oh
hate it
yeah.
so much. Or sort of, when when someone's being a bit sleazy, I go, why does it matter if she's a girl? Am I doing
Mhm.
good there by speaking up, or does it further kind of undermine the aspect that girls can't speak up for themselves, sort of thing? Or should I can always do that and speak up and put the little beep in his place?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. It's like, what can bystanders almost of toxicity do? And this is a good point. I think there's another related work out there that talks about the cycle of toxicity, because when players are toxic to you, it causes like emotional reactions. It could make you want to be toxic back. For me, I think that just sort of understanding that people deal with toxicity sort of individually, although there are patterns. So seeing if someone's being blatantly toxic, definitely do your part to report them, speak up if you think it's necessary. And I also think that um, if they're being toxic in the first place, it's typically because they aren't doing very well. So having them, get back on track and focus on the tasks at hand is also very important to preserving the competitive integrity as well.
Do they get toxic when they're not doing well and the female is perceived to be doing better than them?
That's an interesting one, and that's not something we could really understand from the data lens. I think there are some studies that out there from, I think, a different using different methodologies that try to claim that um, toxic players who are not performing well are just more toxic in general. So I think there is that sort of trend there. And then, interestingly, within our study through women's experiences, they've seen that it doesn't even matter sometimes how well you're doing. The performance is almost removed from gender toxicity because they're able to latch onto an identity and maybe push blame or take out the aggression from the competitive side into the space. So I just overall think that there's a stronger push to be toxic because of the competitive environment, and then knowing how to, deal with that as it comes up is really important.
So, the idea of fighting back, and some women see that as more effective than muting. Do, do the moderation systems sometimes unfairly punish women that they're goaded into stuff and then they get punished?
Yeah, definitely. Because the moderation systems aren't quite smart enough for that. It's very black and white almost. Some moderation systems, especially if they're algorithmic, rely on keyword detections. So if anyone says like a specific bad word, it might just blanketly ban everything from there. So one of our design implications was to increase sort of transparency and make the report systems acknowledge the different nuances that happen within competitive games, because I've also found that the context of not only gender toxicity, but toxicity is that there are competitive elements in there. There are reasons for why people become toxic, sometimes valid, sometimes not. So having a report system that, explicitly shows when players are being punished for gender toxicity could really help elevate the visibility of this issue as well. So I think offering explicit categories for gender toxicity is quite important, or even just labeling it as like, someone's attacking you for your identity, and that is an important reason why like you shouldn't be toxic. So that's one key design we had in mind. And then further than that, there's a sense that we shouldn't just be punishing players because that might only decrease participation, but try to reintegrate them through restorative justice practices. So maybe creating a dialogue between the offender and then the victim, and then even offering some sort of compensation or reparation for victims that are experiencing this so that they still continue and want to increase their participation in the game. Because I think overall that would be the best for the competitive scene.
I mean, like, this is, I've got a 10-year-old, my friend's a 13-year-old, and we talk about when to let them play Counter Strike or Valorant, and having played in these research papers, I had from 39 to 45
Hmm.
now. I'm very hesitant to let him become into this, and from the male side to learn this toxicity, to be encouraged, like the manosphere issues and stuff like that, because a lot of grooming happens in games where you're rewarded for saying slurs by other younger teenage boys in that bandwagon thing. And 12, 13, 14 years, we were all there once, and
Yeah.
pressure to conform. I mean, so what you're covering is bigger than just gender toxicity, right? It's a
Totally.
societal sort of issue
Yeah, I'd
that
like to think it's just one part of the puzzle, and especially for the younger gamers out there, I think that just supporting them through that and creating open dialogue between the parents and children. I'm not a parent myself, so it's not my position to like really offer concrete advice, but from the parents I have talked to and thought was meaningful in this space of navigating toxicity is, just understanding what they're going through. Like someone said a bad word to me, understanding how they felt about that and if that's something they agree with, and sort of, scaffold their way into competitive gaming so they know maybe what is proper, conduct as a Valorant player or CS player. And maybe part of that is looking for good role models in the space who maybe aren't as toxic or do provide a lots of educational and learning content. That's sort of one thing that I had in mind.
Yeah, so when my kids, someone said a rude word and was mean to me. He's not online, so my partner says, Brian, stop saying that to the kid. But the biggest compliment I've ever had in games is being called a hacker or a Smurf in those very rare golden moments. Uh, but but the other flip side of that is when you're accused of being boosted.
Right.
Again, a very, very well. That's more common than being a hacker Smurf for me. Despite my low rank. But top rank women are accused of being boosted. And how does this add extra pressure? Is there anything game designers can do to challenge this?
Yeah, and I think that there's sort of uh like it's like conceptually like almost equivalent, because if you're smurfing it's because you're playing in a rank that's not your own, but it's like almost in a positive way. If I'm smurfing, like I'm like doing better than the rest of the team that is there significantly. But then boosting becomes sort of really derogatory because you're being placed, you're just saying that your skill level is quite underneath the skill level that everyone else is at or playing at. So I think that the idea of boosting is quite a targeted term towards women. At least that's how they um, had talked about it as. They had said that it's mostly towards women and used as a derogatory term. And typically it's because you're almost hitchhiking your way through the ranked ladder. Someone's playing with you or someone's playing for you so that you're unfairly earning um, what is it, like rank points. I'm thinking in league terms because I'm a league player, so it'd be like LP. But basically, your rank is earned by someone other than you, so attributing your success towards someone else, rather than this their own like intrinsic abilities and skills. So because of that, I think it really complicates the landscape of competitive gaming because you do have women achieving these really high ranks, and we did get to represent them within our research as well, and seeing that even if you do push past the stereotype of girls are not as good as gaming as maybe a boy is, they're still facing this very gendered toxicity. So they might have to, perform extra emotional labor to manage this. So not only do I have to play the game, I also have to deal with the fact that someone is talking shit about me. And that really like
It's
makes
hard.
makes it harder to play the game, I think. Yeah, so some of the women described having to prove themselves, and I think that is something that not many of their male peers need to do in this sort of space. And in the end, it sort of even gatekeeps the professional leagues and spaces from women, because there's always this very, I think, unhealthy skepticism towards women's abilities.
Well, just as I did 39 years old, did my auto and ethnographic studies, and there's no way I should have felt these things I felt playing all these games. And it's actually very impactful because you're so. And I did this as this big white male who lived all over the world and had a PhD. And I'm just I have so many of my diary entries going. If I'm feeling like this, imagine if I was someone younger or smaller or, less confident. It's like because it was visceral. Like it would hurt. Like if I was playing a game of Valorant now and someone started throwing smack at me, throwing shade, and was being nasty to me, I would play worse. I
Yeah.
can't. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to suddenly start getting headshots. And I'm going with, why am I getting affected by a 15-year-old European kid yelling slurs at me? And I'm quite confident, and it's. And I've always imagined, like, that these slurs, that if you're in any way, unless I'm comfortable being crap, I've published 2 papers saying I'm crap. Even then, like if I'm striving and I'm a teenager with rules and not allowed to do what I want in school and pressure and being a digital native who has bullies follow them home, it must be horrific because it's just it's such a thing. So, is there a solution in that? Can we, at regional or in education level, should we provide platforms? Should there be more platforms to make sure you're with a positive, communicative group of people? Like, should we start moderating this for younger people at the kind of at the regional level or before the matchmaking system, so we match the teams before they have to enter into the hellhole of a matchmaking?
Oh, definitely. And I think you bring up a really good point. So that's definitely like a future direction for research, is to dive deeply into what sort of designs could actually be implemented, as our study was trying to like lay the groundwork for what they're experiencing, the forms and the responses to really support women's experiences. I think the next point is to be practical about it. So whether it's through education, educating current players, but also educating new players. So some of the women talked about when they're entering the space, they might enter because of their partner, because of their brothers, and it's sort of a limited view. So to better understand maybe the gaming culture of whatever game title you're playing, to understand some healthy expectations for that, understanding that maybe yes, I will face gender toxicity. This is, a very wicked problem that we can't address through one game design alone. So having an awareness of what to do in that situation, where to find maybe reporting buttons, how to do that, and also know that it's not right and it's not part of many games player conduct to allow this sort of toxicity. So that thing, that's one really practical way for, not only women but all players who are getting into competitive games to navigate this sort of toxicity and negative experiences that could impact your competitive play. And then also from a more representational side is to keep challenging what it means to be a competitive gamer, what it means to be a successful gamer as well. So showing, maybe like we were interviewing very high ranking women in League of Legends, for example, and Valorant, but why are they not like being promoted as part of the game developers, esports scene? Why is there not like support for them? So even increasing visibility could help other marginalized players feel that they belong, or there's a sense that there's someone here that is occupying this space. And then I think that could help deal with the effects of marginalization that could occur with gender toxicity, knowing that there are successful people and you could look up to them through that. One other, I think,
Brilliant.
yeah. Oh, sorry. I just had
No,
like
no.
one last idea that was really generated from the study was, or just in the design implication was that we should design spaces that really support women and marginalized players intentions and passions. So for some of them, that means having a space to be safe, but also to be brave. And I think we found from the literature that these are called brave spaces. So that allows people to constantly engage in productive communication with each other, to be respectful while still participating in the game, not just having like sort of a offshoot environment to have social support, but actually continue engaging and having healthy engagement. So I guess that ties back into the health in play.
I love the way that we're probably on two sides of the Atlantic trying to get the same stuff to happen in terms of safe spaces for young people and girls and everyone to play in online gaming. So, Elena, thank you very much. Anyone who's listening or watching the podcast, there's some details below this episode. If you want to get in touch with Elena, I'm sure she'd welcome you. So, Elena, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.